breaking ball, hits it out to right. Acuna goes back to the warning track, looks up, and out of here! How about that? Brett Beatty hits a 2-run homer in his first major league at bat. Second pitch he sees, and Beatty hits it out of the yard. A moment to remember for Brett Beatty and his family. A 2-run homer, and it's 4-0 New York.
September, August call-ups happening in professional baseball. Brett Beatty, the best prospect in the New York Mets organization. Home run. Second pitch he saw in his major league career. Goes deep in Atlanta, right in the Braves' mouth. Ugh. Braves and Mets becoming a fun rivalry again. I don't know. We'll see what happens. It is getting fun. Yeah, baseball's finally getting fun. That's cool. Let's just go through some baseball stuff before we get to our fantasy football preview. Other just highlights. This happened in the Mets. You might have seen this from John Boy Media. He tweeted this. A guy in the Dodgers organization. I say Mets. I mean the Brewers. He did the slide at the Brewers organization, and look at him. Watch him go down the slide.
Holy crap!
Oh, did you hear that? Hold on. Listen carefully for what sounds like someone biting into a very crunchy, crisp pretzel. Do you hear it? Hold on. One more. Yeah, that dude broke his wrist. I think he had a spinal fracture in his elbow. Here he is with his cast on. I don't know if he actually broke anything, but he has cast on, so he probably did. Look at him. I'm definitely not high on painkillers. That's funny. Okay, let's do some more baseball stuff. Shohei Ohtani had one of the greatest. It's just getting sad. Here's this guy, Rhett Bollinger. I don't know what Rhett does. Shohei Ohtani with a 2-run homer. He's 4 for 5 with a homer, a triple, 4 RBIs. The Angels are down 11-7. It's a tragedy what's happening to him, man.
Shohei with number 27 on the season. State your MVP case.
Is he going to be MVP? Maybe he should. I think that maybe he should. Yeah, there he is. It's just really sad. Like, what are we doing? Get him out of there. The world deserves to see him, and the Angels cannot not suck. It's fucking crazy how shitty they are. Irregardless. Baker Mayfield's going to be the starter. Florida State started sending recruits official offer letters, like actual letters that offer them a scholarship. It used to just be like, hey, would you like to play college here? I think back in the day. Aqib Talib, who was a really fun up-and-coming play-by-play announcer, his brother fatally shot someone at a youth football game, and it's starting to appear like Aqib was involved / like maybe started the altercation where his brother murdered someone. So, yeah, we'll pay attention to that. I've been avoiding talking about that for a couple of days, but it's starting to feel like it's a thing. So we'll just keep an eye out for that with Aqib Talib. Kind of scary and annoying situation. Unfortunate. RIP to the person that died. So I don't know at what point this is going to break and he can't be on Fox anymore. I don't know. Let's listen to Aaron Rodgers get pissy about young receivers not being very good.
That's, repeat mistakes are a problem. So we just got to clean those things up a little bit. The young guys, they got to, especially young receivers, we got to be way more consistent. A lot of drops, a lot of, bad route decisions, run the wrong route. So we gotta get better in that area. He just won't be out there. You keep dropping the ball, you're not gonna be out there. So it's gonna be the most reliable guys that are out there. The preparation and the
he regrets coming back to the Packers, right? Like that. He's like, oh shit. That's not what I want. These young receivers are bad. The best receiver in the NFL is gone now. What am I gonna do? That's annoying. Let's go to our fantasy football preview show. If I had a sound, pew, pew, pew. I don't know. That seems like a lot of work to just get 4 seconds of audio, so I'm not going to do it. It's not okay. We're just going to talk about fantasy football in terms of I can give you advice. I am a B+ fantasy player, but the most important part of this is just to understand what everyone out there is thinking. I listen to all the podcasts when I work all day long. And I read this stuff, and I understand what the thought processes, whatever, are, and I will tell you, And it'll help inform an NFL prediction. So you can bail on the episode at this point in time if you don't care about fantasy football. And I'm also going to assume that you know and care about fantasy football. The first item on the bullet points of positions that matter, the most important thing right now is to figure out what the fuck you're doing with tight end. That's the position that everyone is like very confused about. Running backs are important, whatever, we'll get to it. But the most important position this year is the tight end, and there's a reason for that. There are 2 to 4 that everybody's obsessed with. Of those, one is like maybe even a first rounder. Then after those 4-ish, you have about 6 to 7, 8 maybe that are good tight ends. And then after that, it is just the abyss of guessing. And there's always always with tight end, there's a situation where like maybe you stumble on someone that could be good. But the problem with tight ends is that if you're not in a good offense with a good quarterback, maybe they don't get the ball, maybe they do get the ball. So what do you want to do? What do you want to risk? Get one of the top 10 is the answer to this question. So I'm telling you right now, and this is the most important thing. And aside, if you don't know this is the most important, most important thing. Every publication, The Ringer and Fantasy Footballers, which is the two that I like the best, but there are a bunch. CBS has guys, ESPN have guys. The most important thing when you're drafting is tiers, not player rankings. Player rankings are dumb. Tiers are important. So, for example, if there are, 17 running backs that you like, that you want for your team, those running backs could be in 3 different tiers of running back. For example, the first tier of running backs, pretty much unanimously, are Jonathan Taylor, Christian McCaffrey, Austin Eckler, Derrick Henry, Najee Harris, Dalvin Cook. Right? We all follow right now? At that point, if you want a tier 1 running back, you got to draft one of those guys. So when you're drafting, you have to figure out if you need a specific player, instead of going by your player rankings, have tiers ready and say, like, at the 3rd round, I need a tier 2 running back or a tier 1 wide receiver or whatever, right? Do you understand? And if your entire second tier of running backs are gone, take a tier 2 wide receiver instead. So you want to go on a tiered system, not a ranking system. If you're not going to do this is like, if you always like are pretty good, but not like, it is a tiered system. Do it. You will be significantly more competitive. Okay. With tight ends, there are 3 main tiers. Well, I guess there are 4, but there's Travis Kelce is in a tier by his own. And then after that, Mark Andrews from the Ravens, Kyle Pitts from the Falcons, which I think is a little bit of projection. I don't have him in second tier. I don't think so. And Darren Waller from the Raiders. Okay, then after that, you have a bunch of guys. TJ Hawkinson, Dallas Goedert, Hunter Henry. Just go on the internet and find the top 10 tight ends and get one. That is the first thing. Get a good tight end. Otherwise, you're just going to be guessing. I can tell you, there will be games when even guys in the top 10 just like are not on the field. That's just how the tight end position works. So that's the most important thing. Thing number 2 this year that you have to figure out is there are running backs that are superstars that nobody knows what to do with. There are 2 specifically, Saquon Barkley and Ezekiel Elliott. The most important stat for running backs are touches. Who's going to touch the ball the most this year? Elliott is going to touch the ball more than any other running back in Dallas. I'm a big fan of Zeke Elliott. I also think that Saquon Barkley coming back from injury and the Giants finally potentially not sucking this year is a big development. I am endorsing taking those guys in the first round. A lot of people think they're washed up, and it's entirely possible that Zeke Elliott will never be what he was, but he's going to get handoffs over and over and over. And most importantly, Zeke is incredibly athletically gifted in terms of his flexibility. Why is that important? He rarely gets injured enough to miss games. He has missed games. A lot of these guys get so hurt so much. Dalvin Cook is not going to play a full season. Derrick Henry is at that point where he's not going to play a full season. James Conner, I don't think he's going to play a full season. DeAndre Swift is not going to play a full season. Elliott might. And most importantly, Jerry Jones paid him an ass ton of money. He's going to get the ball. I like him. There are a number of parameters, including usage, age, contract, and ability, or like previous ability, that can predict the number one fantasy football running back. And based on all of these metrics in history, this is retrospective data, there are 4 guys who are eligible to be the number one running back in the league this year. I like 2 of these guys for that, maybe 3, but 2. The number one running back in the league this year, and this is historically like almost 100% accurate, will either be Saquon Barkley from the Giants, Najee Harris of the Steelers, DeAndre Swift of the Lions, or Javonte Williams of the Broncos. The best pass catcher in this group is Swift. The guy who will get the most touches is Harris. The best runner in this group is Barkley. And Javonte Williams will be on the better team, I think. So, again, running back tiers. It's important which kind of league you're in. If you're in a PPR, points per reception league. If you're in a half PPR league, all of that matters. There are a couple guys I'm cold on. I think the time has come that Austin Eckler and Derrick Henry will no longer be good at this. There's a debate around Christian McCaffrey. McCaffrey's hurt all the time. I mean, people are debating whether or not he's worth the risk. He isn't. He hasn't been that in a long time. If you have him on your team and he's perfectly healthy, you might win a couple games, but he's not going to play all 16. Sometimes it's exactly what it looks like. My policy is to draft guys that are on their rookie deal. So Najee Harris, Saquon Barkley, and DeAndre Swift are who I would target in running backs. The third and final point that I'm going to make on our fantasy football preview that I think is really important is the quarterback position. Quarterbacks who run are better at fantasy. Quarterbacks who run are better for fantasy. Jalen Hurts was the hot guy last year, and he was dope. He was an awesome fantasy football quarterback because he could run the ball, and he could throw enough. He only needs to pass for 200 yards and rush for 40 and 1 or 2 touchdowns, and he's a consistent league winner, especially where people were drafting, which was like the 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th round, depending on your league or whatever. People are on that now. There's one guy who's screaming up draft boards among the high-level nerds. That guy is Trey Lance. In fact, I'm going to bet on Trey Lance to win the MVP. Trey Lance can run the ball. Can he run like Jalen Hurts and Lamar Jackson? I don't think so. Those guys did that against, like, SEC defenses. And, like, Lamar won the Heisman and Jalen almost won the Heisman. Trey Lance played at North Dakota State, which is an indictment on Division I college football, and they were just so much egg on their face based on all of like the low-level college quarterbacks that are now super megastars. But he can run the ball. And Kyle Shanahan, did you know, like in the first 16 games of a career, it's like Dan Marino, Peyton Manning, and Tom Brady, I believe. Dan Marino, Peyton Manning, and someone else. And then the fourth guy is Nick Mullins. Because Kyle Shanahan, what he does with this system, the reason why it's good is because it bumps quarterbacks up. The most impressive thing that system does, because look, this system has got Aaron Rodgers from one of the best couple quarterbacks in the league to back-to-back almost unanimous MVP. It takes B-plus quarterbacks and makes them A-minus quarterbacks, Matthew Stafford. But the most impressive thing it does is it makes rookies and shitty quarterbacks good quarterbacks. And he counts. They have an elite offensive line. They have a deep stable of running backs and receivers, only one of whom is a real star. They have a great tight end, and they have a defense that's going to give him a lot of at-bats. It's going to get the ball back plenty of times. Trey Lance, to me, if he's available in the 6th or 7th round, like that is a league-winning guy. Other than that, everything else is up for debate. At a certain point, my advice to you is just take guys that you like from your favorite team. So, again, to recap, get a good tight end. If you have to overdraft a tight end, there will be receivers. Receivers and running backs get hurt. Get a good tight end. Number 2, there are 4 running backs to pay attention to in terms of winning your league. Go on a tiered system and look at Javonte Williams, DeAndre Swift, Najee Harris, and Saquon Barkley. I also like Zeke Elliott because of the volume thing, if he's available at a certain time. Najee Harris, Saquon Barkley, DeAndre Swift, Javonte Williams, Ezekiel Elliott. And number 3, if you can, draft a quarterback that runs the football. In this draft, in the NFL right now, that'll be sort of Josh Allen, but it'll be Lamar Jackson, Jalen Hurts, Kyler Murray, Trey Lance, and also maybe Justin Fields. Justin Fields is an interesting idea. Yeah, I'm not going to debate that. There are many other podcasts. The 2 podcasts that I recommend, if you're trying to really win your league, are the Fantasy Footballers, who are one of the greatest sports podcasts, probably the best, most critically acclaimed sports podcast of all time. The Fantasy Footballers. It's daily, so it will blow up your feed. And the Ringer Fantasy Football Show. The Fantasy Footballers have a Wednesday waiver wire episode. That episode will win you your league. Okay. Once the season starts, the Ringer Fantasy Football show is just very entertaining for fantasy football. But their pre-draft shit is the best by far. This week, go back and listen to some old episodes and listen to their debates. Because they debate a handful of players on whatever. Those guys will win your draft, and Fantasy Football Waiver Wire Wednesday show will win your league. That's my advice. That's the Fantasy Football preview show. We're going to talk about DFS throughout the year. I'm going to do a better job of focusing on gambling and DFS as we get closer to the week. And for NFL football, I think there's a game tonight. I don't know. I would preview it, give you some gambling tips, but we'll review it, and we'll do some best bets of the weekend coming up. Like, rate, review, subscribe. Back and better than ever tomorrow. Football season's like 3 weeks away, man. We're right there.